Abuse, one of the most common, but mostly ignored in many countries, especially when it is coming from one's parents or spouse. Nello, a young, beautiful, and well-behaved woman from an average religious family. Nello had made a decision to remain a virgin before marriage. She avoided relationship to prevent her vows from being broken. Nello, an outspoken, lovable, and easygoing person, was loved by family and friends. Nello met John in one of the church's yearly programs. They immediately fell overhead with each other. Nello loved his calm nature. John knew how to light a dark room up. He was good with speech. Nello loved that about him, and, most importantly, he respected her decision of no sex before marriage. John is a wealthy man who always gets rejected years after dating. He decided to marry Nello immediately to prevent another rejection. Within 2 months of Nello's distant relationship with John, she became his fiancée. John made Nello the happiest woman on earth. After they had a wonderful and elaborate wedding and honeymoon, Nello moved to the big city with him. Days turned to weeks, and weeks to months. Nello had stayed home for 2 months, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of John. John was excessively demanding, controlling, and hard to please. He doesn't help in the house, but wants everything as good as new. Weekends, he buys foodstuff and makes sure nothing is lacking in the house. He wants everything the way he wants it. He even gets clothes for her of his taste, and make her feel stupid and classless for not liking them. Nello felt like if she gets a job and John see her less, he will start cleaning after himself. When she told John of her decision to get a job, John got very angry, accused her of being very greedy and unappreciative, and told her of how he, John, had made sure she lacked nothing, yet she wants more. Nello felt bad that John misunderstood her. She tried to tell John her reason, but John insisted that she was just trying to run away from her motherly duties. The more she tried to explain, the more she realized how physically angry John became. It scared her. John, angrily, promised to pay her monthly, and asked her to never again raise that topic. Nello tried to ignore John, to show him that she was angry. Maybe it would change his mind, but it was difficult, because John had to call her every minute to get this or do this for him. When John left for work, Nello reported to her parents, who told her of how lucky she was to get a man who just wants her to look beautiful and nothing else. They failed to realize that their daughter needed space from John. Nello days turned into boring, depressed, repeated days of babysitting a full-grown man. As time goes on, Nello realized that John had dated almost half of the women in the city. Anywhere they go, they must meet 2 or more ladies he will introduce her to as his wife. One Sunday evening, he took Nello out on her request. They met a scantily dressed lady in the restaurant. John immediately invited her to their table, ignored Nello, and focused all his attention on her. As John left to use the restroom, the lady congratulated her and told her that she never believed that there are ladies who would tolerate John's bad character. Because of desperation, she made her realize that she was the last lady to date John before his marriage to her, and that they dated for 3 years before she left him. Nello was shocked that she did not realize. When John got back, Nello left to get some air. John was so fixed on the lady that he did not bother to ask her where she was going. As she was returning to their table, she saw John's hand on her laps and John looking directly at her as if he met an angel. She got angry and went home. John returned, entered as if he was looking for something. When he saw Nello, he felt relieved and angry. Nello, angry too, asked him if he was done with his woman. John got physical aggressive and told her of how uncivilized and jealous she is. Nello, trying to prove a point, got accused of being a primitive woman. John could no longer accept Nello. Raising her voice at him, he hit her again and again until she stopped arguing. All effort Nello made to free herself from John's abuse was abortive. John reminded her that he is the man and told her that no wife of his would become all these lazy, stupid Gen Z mothers. Nello cried so much and still, out of fear, had to prepare dinner for John and answer to his demands. Nello's parents reminded her that it was her decision to marry a hot-tempered man and that she had to find a way not to trigger his temper. She was helpless. The beating resulted to miscarriage. John told her of how soft and lazy she is, and told her of how her mother endured pain to give birth to 8 healthy and wealthy children. Nello thought of leaving, but lacked the courage to. The society will label her a failure. Men she rejected will make mockery of her. She had no personal money, and going back to her parents was not an option. The day she visited John's office without permission from him, he caught John in a deep romance with a lady. They stopped immediately they saw her. He sent her away, got angry at Nello, warned her never to come without informing him, and told her that all he was doing was to protect her, and in his defense, it was just a means to get a successful transaction for business. John became the most difficult person Nello had ever met. Not only is he controlling, he was demanding, manipulative, a womanizer, a liar who believed in his lies and forced others to believe it. Worst, she was expected to spend her entire life with him. Nello, 5 months pregnant, did not change John's demanding behavior. It even increased, with the excuse that he intended to make her strong enough to push their baby. Nello spent days thinking of what would have happened if she had accepted advances from men Heartbreak is better than what she was facing. John's sight irritates her. His touch felt like poison on her skin. Nighttime with John was nightmare. She mastered the act of pretending. John, finally happy to have a very submissive wife, did not realize that the submissiveness was born out of intense hatred. Nello knew she was just a glorified house help to a very wicked and demanding master. Nello tried to run away from the hospital with her twins, but what she had on her was not even enough to cater for one baby, talk more of two. She could no longer bear the thought of seeing John another day. John was the happiest person. He praised himself for bringing two sons into the world at the same time, in a society that valued men. When her mother came, John wore his sheep clothing, complained so much about Nello to the mother. Nello could not believe her eyes and ears. Her mother thought Nello was the problem, advised her change before leaving. A month after she gave birth, when her mother left, John got worse. Nello nurtured thought of killing him, maybe poisoning his food, to set herself free, but lacked the courage. As the years went by, John's cheating became very obvious. Some days, he hardly come back home to Nello's relief. The more he cheats, the more unavailable he was. The more space Nello gets, the more happy she becomes. John surprised Nello one very morning when he apologized for cheating and asked for permission to take a second wife. He told him of his plan of buying another house for the second wife, and how he did not plan for them to live together, and promised to treat them equally. Nello could not believe this miracle. It was the best news she had gotten. Since she got married to John, she had to pretend as if she was in pain. To feed John's stupid ego, she told him to open a business for him, and promised to accept his decision on that condition. John happily did as was told, and got himself a second wife. People advised Nello to fight or leave, but Nello no more cared about leaving because she had gotten her freedom, nor about him, because she stopped loving him a long time ago. So, all their advice he ignored, because they did not know what God had done for her. Nello started her business. John's absence became a healing time for her and her children. With John, she doubted her sanity. She nearly ran mad. She would have dropped dead one day if John had not taken his cheating to a higher level. John became so absent in their life. He mostly visits once in a month, and unlike before, Nello was prepared and no longer scared of him. At first, John saw Nello's indifference towards him and his new wife as blessing, but later realized that Nello's lack of feeling towards him was something else. She never called when he is away. Whenever he calls, to know how they are doing, Nello encourages him to take proper care of his wife, that they have enjoyed him well, that his new wife should enjoy him as well. Nello flourished in her business. To John's greatest surprise, he began to monitor her. Thought she was cheating, because whenever he visits, Nello had done one thing or another. Even she got herself a new car. John's life chattered. When he had an accident that left him on wheelchair, his second, young beautiful wife, already fed up with him, refused to be responsible for him, returned him to Nello. Nello had no choice, accepted him, but refused to be directly responsible for him. She employed a house help to take care of him. Whenever John wants to play the victim of being carried and dumped by his wives, Nello made sure to remind him of how much she hated and endured him for 13 good years, before he finally took a second wife. All to John's surprise and shock, he thought he was wise and in control, but never knew he was just stupid and not observant. Whenever they go out in public, Nello acts like a very concerned and loving wife, and got praises for not leaving him, although he deserved it, for taking another wife. My heart goes out to so many women and men out there who are victims of abuse. May you find your own fulfilling escape. Remember to like, comment, and share.